What's up, everybody? It's Pat Healy from Brooklyn Boxing Podcast. I'm joined by Michael OLAJIDE. This is On the Ropes. We're going to break down some of the biggest fights from over the weekend. Jumping right into it, we're going to start with Dillian Whyte and Povetkin. Povetkin, obviously, with a huge knockout uppercut, put him to sleep after getting up off the deck twice. So, Mike, I wanted to get your thoughts on that fight. What led to that knockout?
Well, basically, what led to that knockout was Dillian Whyte obviously was confident coming off the two knockdowns. He was in control. But what actually happened was Dillian Whyte threw the right hand. Povetkin slipped to the outside, which is a very highly skillful move, which talks to his amateur experience. But he slipped to the outside of the right hand, which you don't usually do with boxing. When the right hand's coming at you, you don't directly slip to the side. Mike Tyson was known to do it, and besides him, not very many other people. But he slipped to the right. He made Dillian miss, and then he came with the left uppercut. The chin is right there. And the reason why the punch was so effective, and the reason why the punch was so devastating, and you couldn't recover from it, is because it was a counter that Dillian didn't expect. And when you're not prepared to take the punch, when you don't see you get hit with it, that's all there is. There's nothing you can do. You just hope your brain cells descramble really, really quick and you're able to get back up within 10 seconds, but it's impossible. He was actually blinded by his own right hand. He didn't even see it coming from underneath the right hand right here. Caught him on the point of the chin. All the nerves from the brain connect right here. That was it.
And what does this mean next for Povetkin? A lot of people were doubting him going into this fight, saying that, he's too old. He's 40 years old in the division. Now he's right back in the picture. Obviously a huge win for him over Dillian Whyte, and they're rumored to do the rematch. I know Eddie Hearn wants to run that back. But Povetkin makes a big statement. He's definitely still a player in the division.
Well, his age is always going to be an intangible now. You never know. Once you get to you never know when age is going to play its part or doesn't. I think it didn't necessarily play a part in this fight because he won, and he's a good puncher as well as he has a very good amateur boxing pedigree. So with his fight intellect and his power, he was able to carry through with this. Now, is he going to be able to beat Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury with this approach into the fight? Is hard to tell. He'd already lost to Tyson Fury. He'd already lost to the AJ.
Joshua.
Yeah, he's already lost to Joshua once, and he was younger then, and he had a lot of you would think more energy, but he's intelligent and he could learn. So you can't.
And he showed a lot of resilience, and I know that's one of your 12 attributes in your system. If you want to explain to the people that are watching sort of the 12 things you look for in a fighter and what some of them, Povetkin clearly showed last night in resiliently getting up off the deck twice.
Yes. So I call it the boxer in-depth analysis system, and there are 12 points to a complete fighter, and it goes from ring generalship, focus, endurance, dexterity, agility, defense, resiliency, your jab, power, body punching, vision, and your mindset, which is extremely important and well overlooked part of a fighter's arsenal. All these things are really important. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you put each fighter on, and how did they come out of their fight with being successful? Well, going into the fight, ring generalship was one of the points, but and when you're talking about ring generalship, right, you're talking about who's in command in the ring, who's leading. It's almost like there's this intimate dance. We kind of touched on it yesterday between two guys. It's like the referee doesn't feel the vibe. No one ringside feels the vibe. Not even the trainer feels the vibe. It's this thing going on between two fighters, these energies, and they're jostling for position. And we don't sense it until something like a knockout happens. Or until it's something obvious, like you hit him and he's hurt and he's wobbling. Then we say, okay, well, this guy's got the advantage. But there's energies being like batted back and forth even before then. And this fight certainly had that. It was a lot of back and forth. And even when Povetkin got dropped, it wasn't like he was hurt on the verge of being knocked out. It was a tightly contested fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed and surprised, honestly, by Povetkin's response. He got knocked down twice. Everything was going Dillian Whyte's way.
Yeah.
And, going into the fight, there's those questions of Povetkin. Is he, his father time caught up to him? And, in those moments where Dillian White was really punishing him, things seemed bleak for him in that moment. But,
Yeah.
his experience took over, his
Yes.
skill set. And,
Mhm.
Dillian White made some errors. And I'd like you to maybe touch on Dillian White, as a fighter and
Yeah.
what's next for him, because he started really late. Credit to him. He's been through a lot. He's had a lot of success.
Yes.
But clearly, he runs into some issues on those top level fighters, and he can get caught. And
Mhm.
sometimes his inexperience or lack of amateur career comes back to
Yeah.
bite him.
I mean, I believe he only had like 7 or 9 amateur fights. That's nothing. I mean, it's ridiculously hard
Right.
to be a competitive professional with no amateur experience. It's just absolutely rare. It's one of the rarest things. So for him to get to where he got to, hats off to him. That's. And even though I myself, I don't look at the heavyweight division as the division as it was in the past. But still, you have intelligent, strong, hard-hitting, fast fighters punching at you, and you have to be able to like see through the storm and operate and beat them. And he was able to do that. And every single fighter he's been in the ring with, he's given a problem to. I mean, he had Joshua like wobbly legs in his fight, and he had Povetkin down a couple of times as well. So I think what his people have to do, they have to take him back. He does want to continue. This isn't the end for him. He is going to get the rematch, as you said. And I think he just has to learn better, like fistic dexterity. He's got to increase his arsenal. Right now, his arsenal is a little bit limited. He's got power, so that takes care of everything generally. But if you may have the bomb, but if you don't know how to transport the bomb from here to the chin or from here to the body, that's a problem. So that's what I think Dylan can do if he wants to improve and win the next fight, the rematch.
Yep. And Tyson Fury had some interesting comments too about the division as a whole. This morning, earlier today, he was in an interview and he discussed how, he really views the heavyweight division, clearly a little bit of a slight he threw at Joshua, but he threw him in the mix of Joshua, Chisora, Dillian White, Povetkin, Pulev. He named a lot of fighters and kind of grouped them all together. And he
Yeah.
said, all of these guys are beneath me, number one. And then he said also, of similar skill set and can beat each other on any night.
Yes.
So he's like, I'm not surprised that Povetkin was able to beat Dillian White. All of these guys are virtually interchangeable to me, and can beat each other at any moment. Is there any truth to that, do you think? Or, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he does have a point, but I think he should consider himself within that same category. Like, it's not like I don't think that he's head and shoulders above anybody in that division. It's he's not the type of puncher that's gonna be that he's going in there to and he's gonna take somebody out in a round or two. It's just not his forte. It's just not what he does. He's a boxer. He's very intelligent. He's used to seeing punches coming at him. He's got good defense. He's, what I mean? He's, middling in the power department. He's got good resiliency. He's got great heart. That's one of his strongest attributes. But he's not a shoo-in against Joshua. I would be hard pressed to see him beat Joshua. If he had more in the power department, I would say yes, we could go ahead with something like that. Then you can start to talk. But that's the heavyweight division is interesting. May lack in great talent, but it's very interesting in terms of the competition because nobody's head and shoulders above anybody there.
Yeah, very interesting what's going to happen in the next few months. Fury and Wilder are supposed to, contractually, they have that third fight. I'm assuming it's going to be in November or December.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But on the other end, Joshua was at the fight last night. He will not be facing Dillian White, obviously, now. That was what Eddie Hearn had in mind, as Dillian White was the mandatory. So those plans kind of got spoiled. Bob Arum has been chirping, saying Pulev has got to be next for Joshua while he's waiting for the outcome of the Wilder-Fury fight. What do you think about Pulev versus Joshua in that matchup as a whole, and what type of threat does Pulev bring?
I have to be honest in saying that I've never seen Pulev fight. I don't know of his exposure over here on stateside, and I do need to do some homework on him. He's a European fighter, obviously. He's Russian, and he's probably very busy from the pedigree from the. But I shouldn't assume. I'd love to see more on him, and
Yeah.
tell me your opinion. Color him in for me. I'm in for.
Yeah,
I want
sure.
to
I mean,
know.
with Pulev, I think from what I've seen, he's definitely he's a big, solid heavyweight. Pretty heavy puncher. I see Joshua getting through him, not easily, but I see Joshua definitely coming out on top. That being said, Pulev definitely is a threat, and I think Joshua's chin is questionable. I think if he gets hit, he's been shown that he can be wobbled, and
Yeah.
that could be an issue for him.
Well, that's the thing about all the heavyweights. None of them are exceptional in the resiliency department, and that's what makes that division so exciting because anyone can get their lights turned out at any time. But I can't say like there's nobody with that concrete chin like you have in tons of.
Fury, I would have to argue getting up after Wilder.
I mean, he did get up, but he also got dropped. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about resiliency, that's when he got dropped against Wilder, that wasn't just. It was beyond hard. It was like all the particles again. They had to come back together, and he's like, "Hey, I'm down here. Get back up." It's not like when you get dropped. It's not even a. It's not even a decision you have to make. It's just a natural, instinctual thing you do as a human being. You get knocked down, you stand up. What do you do after that? That's where you mark a man's. That's when you mark a man's ability and heart. What he does after he gets dropped. But every single person that can get up when they get knocked down, they get up. If they, when you get hit, everything just is distorted, and you're like a newborn foal learning how to walk. You're laying there on the ground. As time comes on, all the neurons are turning back on, and your energy's coming back, and it's like, okay, I can stand up now. He got hit with a great shot. That happened. The lights were turned out. The power slowly, the generator came back on. He got up. Then when he consciously looked, he knew he had been hit, he'd been hurt. Then his survival instinct. Now that is what you judge. You judge his ability. He did not quit under duress. And that's what was so great about him getting up after that knockdown. You also have to say that he may not have been in with the best finisher that night. You know what I mean? So you get in there with someone else that really knows how to put his punches together and has that fistic dexterity. You never know what's going to happen at that point. Another man will hurt you again. So as he showed great resilience and he showed great heart in getting up against a fighter that's a little bit more competent, that may be the bone of contention.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting, next few months for the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
But Povetkin, hats off to him. He stole the show and had that amazing knockout after being on the deck himself twice.
That was
So a great main event, and he really closed out the night well. But to jump over to,
And you know what? Though? I just want to say,
yep,
it is so rare that a fighter gets knocked out with a left uppercut. I mean, because they're just not thrown so much. You know what I mean? Left hooks, yes. Right hands, yes. Even a right uppercut. But a left uppercut is just so rare. It's like you don't see it. I don't remember any fighter getting knocked out with a left uppercut since, I think, like Matthew Saad Muhammad versus Richie Cates. And this is like in the 1970s.
yeah, a rare punch, but it was a violent KO. And
Oh man, it was a thing of beauty. Perfect, absolutely perfect.